So in this video, we are going to be going over how to lose belly fat naturally without complex dieting by a guy named Dr. Powell. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what he has to say, but apparently there's a lot of people who listen to this, like 3.4 million views 3 years ago. So let's see if he's right. Most people aren't right on this, doctors included. They don't understand anabolism and catabolism too well, and they don't understand how you can induce one or the other just based on what you eat. But anyways, let's see what he has to say.
Hello guys, this is Dr. Palnepan Manikam. In this video, we are going to talk about why many people can't look down after lockdown. Though COVID caused mass destruction, it increased the mass of an individual person by increasing the belly size. If you take a picture from space, it looks like as if the earth is pregnant and sun is throwing a baby shower by saying, congratulations. Neenga amma.
Okay, this guy. I'm gonna say right now, I already like this guy. I don't care if he's right or wrong. This guy's hilarious. This guy's really, really funny. Yeah. He reminds me of one of my friends, actually. Almost exactly. Like, I don't know if you're watching this, Rohan, but he reminds me of you.
Oh, புரியுங்க.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
My friend Saravana Kumar is like, thank God the virus is gone, there is no big problem. I said the bigger problem is the size of your belly. It looks as if it is a ticking time bomb ready to be exploded in 3 minutes. The only problem is to defuse the bomb, we cannot throw just the belly portion alone into the well. We need to throw the whole body. How do you know that you are like my friend Saravana Kumar? I want you guys to be a tailor for a few seconds. Take an inch tape, measure around the belly button. If the size is more than 80 centimeters for women and more than 90 centimeters in men, congratulations, this video is tailor-made for you. So the inch tape should be around the belly button and not at the place where your pants on. It is above it. Please make sure that you do this the first thing in the morning. Do not have any clothes on, and most importantly, do not inhale like this. Please exhale. Nobody is taking you for a police interview. Please be honest to yourself. Don't involve your mom. If your mom is like my mom, she'll be like, what? You have 102 centimeters? You are so thin. There's no way. Inch tape might be wrong. Put it as 92 centimeters. If you meet any of these criteria, you need to take the action right now. You cannot postpone things. Abdominal obesity increases the risk of heart disease, diabetes, stroke, and more importantly, if you get COVID, the risk of complications is even higher. As I mentioned before, obesity can also cause cancer, and cancer will kill you. So please take that action right now. Please do not postpone things. This is not like our final exams where we can postpone things till the last minute. At least in the exam, we could write something to fill up the paper in the last minute. If you get a heart attack, that is your last minute. No time to do push-ups at that time because your heart is doing push-ups at that time.
This guy's pretty funny. All right, so I guess we'll say we'll start with one of the things he said. That is, I guess, sort of true, but I wouldn't say it's the main culprit. Although I could actually see it being a culprit based on how fat cells act. He says being obese causes cancer, and I think originally I was going to say I don't necessarily think this is fully true, but there is a possibility that because fat cells act a certain way, what fat cells do is they can like secrete cortisol, and if you have like too many fat cells, in this case like white adipose tissue, right, belly fat, and you have tons of this extra cortisol being secreted, then I could actually see that could actually play a really big like cascading effect, I guess you could say, in terms of causing that cancer. I'm not gonna lie, this guy's really hilarious. This guy's pretty funny, so I mean, most likely I'm gonna like say he's wrong one way or another, but I love the humor. I absolutely love the humor. You don't get it too often. I try to keep this channel. I try not to get too humorous on this channel or like make too many jokes sometimes, but or get off topic. Well, I try not to anyways, but sometimes I do. So, but I try not to. I really try not to, because I try to keep this as like educational as possible, or like learn and apply what I know, and try to take what I know and learn it. So yeah.
Decrease the belly fat, you need to understand how belly fat is formed. I have explained this in detail on my previous 2 videos. I have mentioned that link in the description. In short, there are only 2 ways to get belly fat. Number 1, if you eat more than what you should. Most of the times, if you eat yummy, you will get a tummy. As I have mentioned before, I was obese before. There were 2 reasons for it. Mainly my mom and my wife. My mom is like, என்னடா இளைச்சிக்கிட்டே போற, நல்லா சாப்பிடுறா. My wife is like, குப்பையில போட போறேன், உங்களுக்கு வேணுமா? The second reason for belly fat is if you eat food at the wrong time. I asked my friend Saravana Kumar, what time do you eat? He is like, I will eat whenever my heart tells me to. ஆமா, இவர் பெரிய விடிவி சிம்பு ஜெஸ்ஸின்னு சொல்றதுக்கு பதிலா பசின்னு சொல்லிட்டு சிச்சுவேஷன் ரொம்ப மெஸ்ஸி ஆயிடுச்சு. So to decrease belly fat, you need to control any of the 2 factors. The first factor of eating more than what you should is very difficult to control right away. It requires a lot of willpower. But the second factor is easy to be focused upon.
Wow, he's actually okay. So he sounds Indian, obviously, to me. Like, I mean, his humor is a lot like Rohan's, and he would even say some of these things in like Hindi. So, anyways, that's besides the point. This comedic stuff. So, I'm surprised he doesn't. Well, I mean, this is not actually health. Well, I guess it's sort of health related. This thing where he says like you will need a lot of willpower. I'm surprised he hasn't like. Well, maybe I mean, obviously not everybody in India knows about this, I guess. But in India, they have like something called like an Ayurvedic doctor, Ayurveda or something. And in this case, like I think Ayurvedic doctors or like in my opinion, they understand the mind far, far better than Western civilization does. So it's very, very interesting. And it's incredibly interesting, actually. I think they are one of the best sources of understanding the mind and how to make the mind work for you instead. Now, I don't think willpower is going to get you across this barrier. So he says you're gonna have to have a lot of willpower in order to time how much you eat and what you eat, right? I don't think so. Now, obviously, if you haven't watched this channel, you would already know what I would say on this. It's actually really easy to lose weight. It's not that hard. You just have to stimulate catabolism. Most people, once again, this isn't like super commonly known. In fact, even my biochemistry teacher, for that matter, doesn't really like understand this, which is weird because, well, I guess the one that I'm with right now, which is like a little weird when you think about it, because he teaches biochemistry, right? Like you would expect some of the professionals in that field to know how to induce this catabolism to induce weight loss could occur while still eating food. And it's sort of interesting how even they don't understand this. Now, this is I think this is, once again, this actually has to do with quality of the university and the quality of the professor specifically. Now, I don't think the quality of the university, just because you go to like Stanford, that does not mean that you're going to be dealing with smart people. In my opinion, that means nothing. You're going to have to deal with actual professionals, like real, in my opinion, the real professionals. And the one that I learned from personally off of YouTube, I watched his videos like God knows how many times before I finally understood stuff he was saying. Was Benjamin Bickman. I watched Benjamin Bickman and I watched him nonstop. Now, this guy, in my opinion, he's like really, really smart, and he has a much better understanding of how to induce this catabolism and how to not allow this anabolism to constantly cause you to gain weight, basically. So he was the best example of that. Now, he's not carnivore, but his study demonstrates, and his understanding demonstrates something much more important, which I think is just a basic concept on how all of this works. And it's the insulin to glucagon ratio. Now, if you don't already know the insulin to glucagon ratio, this basically will dictate whether or not you are going through either anabolism of adipose or catabolism of adipose. Now, if you stimulate this insulin to glucagon ratio in favor of insulin, then you will allow for anabolism, meaning you will gain weight, which is exactly what you don't want to do, because you don't want to be looking pregnant and you don't want to be looking from space and seeing that the earth looks like it's pregnant or whatever he said. That was pretty funny. But if you want to induce catabolism, then you would have to do the opposite and you would have to stimulate glucagon. Now you might say, well, how do you do this? And it's really simple. All you have to do is not eat carbohydrates, because carbohydrates will get basically converted. Well, they won't get converted into insulin, but they will get converted into glucose, and then in this case the insulin will bind, and then this insulin sort of acts as like a receptor, I guess you could say, and it sort of like signals to your cells certain things. So your cell signals will be like, hey, there's more insulin in the system, we need to stop uptaking fatty acid so much, we need to uptake the glucose and use the glucose as much as possible. But then when you stimulate both of them, it doesn't work. So to put it simply, what do you do if you want to lose weight really easily? Not all this stuff aside, all you have to do honestly is just eat meat. Now that's literally it. Eat meat and don't eat carbohydrate. And I will say there might be a little bit of a problem at first if you do this, and you're gonna feel hot. That's the problem, and it's because you're you're forcing all of that white adipose to be burned, and you will feel heat in the process. I did this. I felt way hotter originally when I was full carnivore. I'm still full carnivore, but it's considered a diet. I don't consider it a diet. I consider it a lifestyle, because I don't plan on changing this in my life ever. It's worked wonders in many ways, and I already know the alternative will not be beneficial. The alternative will make me feel terrible. So yeah.
Regarding the time that you are eating. Why this is important? Because similar to us, where we sleep at night and then gets recharged and then wake up in the morning, all our hormones do the same thing as well. They have a particular sleep period, they have a particular wake up period. For example, growth hormone, which is
okay, yes, I will say yes, but I think he's right, but maybe not for the right reason. So the reason why you want to be not eating at night, or you want to be eating like within a set period window, is because you don't want to be stimulating this insulin. You don't want to be stimulating insulin over and over and over and over again throughout the day, because when you do, you're stimulating anabolism, meaning your body is going to say, I need to put on weight, I need to put on weight, I need to put on weight. Now, it doesn't really matter what you do. I don't care if you exercise. I don't care if whatever you do. If insulin is elevated, you're gonna store adipose. Doesn't matter what you do. So, I mean, you can reduce insulin a variety of ways. Most people, the only way they know is work out. And working out is not going to make you lose weight. No, because if you keep ingesting those carbohydrates, you're still going to gain weight, because that's how adipose works. That's how fat cells work. So, I guess maybe the real problem is a lack of understanding in modern society of how adipose functions or how fat cells work. Maybe that's the main problem. But hey, we'll listen to what he has to say. But yes, hormones do have they're very time dependent, or circadian rhythm dependent. So I would say that's actually extremely important. He did actually maybe bring up a point which I did not talk about too much in my Real Nutrition Science playlist yet. Or my min-maxing health playlist, which, if you don't know, by the way, everything that I'm saying right now, I have all of the scientific studies, all of the research, all of that done in the Real Nutrition Science playlist. So you can go check that out if you're interested. I talk about every single topic. So yeah.
The repair hormone, which increases the growth of the body, not the horizontal growth, the vertical growth of the body, is secreted only at night. Insulin, which is a hormone which decreases fat and builds up the body, is secreted during the day when there is sunlight.
Okay, insulin does not decrease fat. Insulin increases fat because it stimulates adipose. It stimulates anabolism. That's what it does, and it prevents catabolism. So if it prevents catabolism. In this case, it's going to promote anabolism. And in this case, it does. It does promote anabolism. So if you constantly are eating glucose, you are going to be stimulating your body to go through anabolism because there's going to be this large, basically, amount of insulin in your bloodstream, and then your body's going to be like, oh, I need to start converting all of this into adipose. And the reason actually why I think it does this is because it's extremely damaging if it doesn't do that otherwise. So.
And when people are active. Growth hormone is like Batman who repairs a city of Gotham at night. Insulin is like a Superman who flies from one side to other during the day when there is sunlight. Insulin is secreted by pancreas and it is the most important hormone when you eat glucose or carbohydrate rich foods to convert the glucose molecules to energy. You need insulin to be at its 100% quality whenever the load is heavy, especially after an Indian get-together. But think...
Okay, that's pretty funny. So I will actually say that you do need insulin, but the insulin that you're secreting, if you're carnivore, you're not really going to be secreting much. You don't have to worry about this like extremely large insulin secretion, and the reason is because when you're carnivore or when you're eating meat only, you're not actually forcing the insulin to be stimulated. You're forcing glucagon to be stimulated more, and if any insulin is being stimulated, which it is, what it ends up basically helping with is the excess amino acids. Certain excess amino acids will end up getting converted into glucose. And also, if there could be like muscle glycogen that you're eating, if you're eating skeletal muscle, which there's a pretty good chance you are, because there's a really good chance you're not eating only organs, only animal organs, right? So, yeah.
Think about it. Insulin is very tired after being worked out during the day, and after sunset, it is going to take some rest. But most of the Indian get-togethers happen only after sunset, and when you eat something after sunset, it is like waking the insulin up. You are asking insulin to wake up like the Anjali movie, Endru Anjali, Endru, Endru Anjali, Endru. And insulin is like, நான் பக்கத்து வீட்டில் பிறந்திருக்கலாம், எய்த்த வீட்டில் பிறந்திருக்கலாம், போயும் இவன் பாடியில் பிறந்து நான் படுற பாடு இருக்கு. Insulin is like a government employee who works from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you make it work like an IT employee, you will not get the best out of it. You will...
Okay. That's an interesting way of putting it. I wouldn't say that's the reason why. I would say the reason, I mean, I think he's just trying to be funny. But yeah, if you are on a carbohydrate sort of diet, then I definitely would recommend limiting your time window. Definitely limit your time window. Because if you don't, you will be stimulating this constant anabolism, which will store weight. Doesn't matter what you do. I don't care if you're working out, if you're eating carbohydrates a lot, and especially if you're mixing it with meat as well, then you will store weight. But if you don't stimulate the Randle cycle, which is like, I'm not going to explain that in this video probably, but if you don't stimulate the Randle cycle too much, and you basically aren't stimulating both the cell, if both the entering of the fatty acid and entering of the glucose is being hindered, which is like the Randle cycle, which is what happens, you can't stimulate both of them at the same time. But if you do stimulate both of them, then you definitely will gain weight. So that's like why you don't eat burgers, and it's why you see a lot of Americans overweight. It's because they're eating burgers, which is like the perfect thing, right? You want to eat as many carbohydrates as you can with as much fat as you can. You want to mix them together because you want to, that would be the best way to gain weight, which America has done quite well. So, I mean, you can see it. If you go outside, I don't like saying that, but if you go outside, you take a little walk around, you will see it very quickly yourself. Actually, you probably won't see it. When you take the walk around, you'll see it inside the cars. It's more so inside the cars because they can't walk around. They're too heavy.
Find all these emails which says please find attachments, but there'll be no attachments. Not only insulin, usually all eating hormones dies down after sunset and their quality goes down significantly if we wake them up. It's almost similar to buying a full length pant at a 50% discount of low quality, and after washing, this full pant becomes half pant. So if you eat a gulab jamun after sunset, initially the insulin will be like, that's okay, I will digest this for you. But in due course of time, it will try to cut corners and will digest only half of the gulab jamun, and the remaining half it will park in your belly. After a while,
Yeah, well, yes and no. But yes, it's mostly the fact that when you're stimulating, it's mostly that when you do this time restricted eating, what you're doing is as time goes on and as the basically glucose in the bloodstream is like getting lower and lower, the body has to go through gluconeogenesis. And when the body goes through gluconeogenesis, then that's the real part where your body's like, oh crap, I don't have enough glucose for my erythrocytes, which is your red blood cells, because they're the only actual cell that requires glucose. And they'll be like, I don't really have enough glucose for my erythrocytes. So then they start making extra glucose. And where do they get that glucose from? They can get it from, they can make that glucose from your fat cells. So that's like an example. Or they could just use energy. They usually when different energy is being used, but in this case, your fat cells will actually be used for ketones instead, because ketones are like extremely efficient. They're really, really efficient, and your brain loves ketones. But that's besides the point.
there'll be no space in the belly to store the fat, so fat will migrate into heart, liver, and brain, causing heart attack. Imagine the gulab jamun that you ate traveled all the way from the belly into the blood vessels of your heart, blocking the circulation completely. அலாவுதனே வந்தாலும் அண்டாக்கா குசும் அபூக்கா புசும் திறந்திட சீசே அப்படின்னு சொன்னாலும் பிளாக் திறக்காது. The gulab jamun that you ate looks very good right now, but அந்த ஜாமுன் போட்ட ஃபேட்டை ஜாமீன்ல கூட எடுக்க முடியாது. Here is what you should do. First, you need to understand what is your eating pattern and the timing of your eating. So please take a notepad, maybe in your phone, and write down the first bite or drink that you are taking in the day. For example, if you wake up around like 7 a.m. and drinks a coffee at 7:30 a.m., then 7:30 a.m. will be your first bite. Anything other than water is considered as first bite. Preferable to avoid black coffee as well. If you absolutely like black coffee, that's totally okay. Anything other than water, like adding lemon in the water, adding vodka in the water, all that is considered as first bite. Similarly, towards the end of the day, when you have your last bite or drink, that will be considered as the end of your eating period. For example, if your last drink is around like 8 p.m., let's say you drink a milk, then 8 p.m. will be considered as your last end of the eating period. So from
That is an extremely short period of time. That's like 13 hours. That's not even near. So what he said, so I don't know if you, so his first thing that he said was 7 a.m. is like, let's say you start at 7 a.m. and you end at 8 p.m., right? That's only 13 hours. Now, if you know anything about this whole like anabolism, catabolism thing, it takes about 18 hours plus, if not longer, before your body starts to go through this catabolism kind of state more prevalently. And that's a big deal, because that means that this window that he's saying, if you are this window of eating and you're not, and you're eating both carbohydrate and fat, then you're going to gain weight. Like you're definitely going to gain weight, unless you're young. If you're young, then you're fine, because your hormones will bail you out for a bit of time, but they won't bail you out all the time. You'll get older and you'll gain weight very quickly, which is like, I don't know if you've ever heard the freshman 15. That's that's sort of an example. Hormones can only go for so far.
From 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. would be a 12-hour eating period. More importantly, you should time the eating period with sunrise and sunset. Your eating period cannot go beyond 12 hours. If you want the best results, it is best to stick to an eating period of 8 hours between the sunrise and sunset.
So I will agree. 8 hours is better, but I wouldn't say it's ideal. If you really want it to be ideal, you want that eating window to be like 1 hour. Honestly, you don't want to be stretching it out too far. I would say 4 hours that's being generous. And that's because this anabolism thing really only kicks in after about 18 hours, if not more. So I would at least give it like a plus or minus 2 hours, uncertainty of 2 hours in this case. So that's why I would say 4 hours preferably. You don't want to. I wouldn't do 8 hours. I would do 4 hours for an eating window. The shorter the eating window, though, the better. If you are mixing carbohydrate and fat. If you're not mixing carbohydrate and fat, and you're eating just carbohydrate, oddly enough, you can lose weight even eating throughout the day because you're not stimulating the Randle cycle as much, or well, relative to how your hormone function is doing. But if you're eating fat, which this one will 100% make you lose weight. If you're eating meat, basically, and meat only, you will lose weight no matter what you do. It doesn't matter. You can eat throughout the day. You'll still lose weight because you're never, ever stimulating an insulin response almost. You're always stimulating an increased glucagon response. And once again, we already know glucagon stimulates catabolism, which means the breaking down of, and in this case, it'll be the breaking down of fat. So yeah.
So what I do is I eat my first drink or bite at around like 7 a.m. in the morning where the sun rises, and then finish my dinner around like 5:30, 6 p.m. where the sun sets. Eating period will be like a PT period where the time runs very fast, but the fasting period will test your patience like the history period. After sunset, similar to the world war that we learned in history class, there will be a war called Battle of Food that runs in your mind between gulab jamun and water. Choose water or else you will become a history. But if you keep eating gulab jamun even after sunsets, insulin will be loyal to you like kattappa. You might think that நீ என் உடம்பில் இருக்கும் வரை என்னை கொல்ல ஒரு gulab jamun இன்னும் பிறக்கவில்லை insulin. But instead of killing the gulab jamun, the insulin might kill you. இருட்டில் கத்தி கொஞ்சம் ஸ்லிப் ஆயிருச்சு. As I have mentioned many times before, being aware of the problem is the first step towards any solution. So please document your eating period starting from your first bite to last bite. And
I will say, this is actually very important. I would recommend you do this, even as a carnivore, just do it, because you will be able to see results if you do. You probably will see better results in your carnivore journey or just your health journey if you start narrowing that eating window. You will definitely see results.
Please write down in the comment section regarding the exact timing. For example, you wake up at 9 a.m. and have your first drink around 9:30. Please write down 9:30 a.m. and let's say you drink a glass of milk at 10 p.m. before you go to bed. Write 10 p.m. So your eating period is between 9:30 a.m. and 10 p.m. and I want that in the comment section so that I can reply to each and every one of you to see how you can decrease this eating period to promote belly fat loss. In future videos, we'll talk about solutions to tackle this problem, but first of all, you should know that there is a problem. இல்லை நான் இப்படி தான் இருப்பேன் அப்படின்னு அடம் பிடிச்சிங்க அப்படின்னா பேங்க்ரியாஸ் ஆணியே புடுங்க வேணான்னு படுத்துக்கும். அதுக்கப்புறம் டயபெட்டிஸ் வரும். டயபெட்டிஸை பற்றி நம்ம அடுத்த வீடியோவில் பேசுவோம். Imagine your body.
Okay, so we'll just stop it there. All right, so that is Dr. Pal. So he's really funny. Honestly, this guy's hilarious. This guy's great. I like him. So I'm going to say there's a lot of things that I think he's definitely right on. You do want to be reducing this eating window. In my opinion, you reduce this eating window even if carnivore or not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're eating. Reducing this eating window is better. That's one thing I will say, especially for weight loss. The second thing is I am definitely not a big fan of the carbohydrates. So don't be eating the carbohydrates. If you really want to stimulate this weight loss and you want to do it like really, really effortlessly and without having to work out or move around or do any of that, just eat meat and just try that. Trust me, you will lose weight and you will feel very hot during this period because your body is actually just burning off all that excess white adipose tissue and you'll be like, oh my God, I feel like I'm on fire. Why am I so hot right now? And it's because your body's actually I guess you could sort of say it's like taking wood and then lighting it on fire, right? And the wood is the fat cells that you have around you. So if you have a lot of fat cells, then you might feel that way more. At least that's what I've noticed. Some people often say. Once again, thanks for watching. If you found the video helpful or informative, please like, share, subscribe, comment down below, because it really does help the channel grow. And if you want to meet like-minded people like yourself, or you want to join my community and see what else I have to say, or ask me questions, or give me content requests, or whatever, doesn't matter, go join my Discord down below. Link is in the description. Yeah, I think that's it. Once again, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.